Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 424 for August 11th, 2021. Oh, Georgia's shaking her head. What have I done now?
Looks like you've got one
AC
live
just
and
came
one
on.
scheduled.
It was like this massive wind blow happening in my ears.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's loud here, too. There's an air conditioner. See that air conditioner? That air conditioner is going for every erg it can get right now. So anyway, hey, everybody, thanks. Here we are. Let's see, episode 424. I said that. Let's introduce the panel and get this show on the road because we got a ton of stuff to get through. And even then, we're not going to get through all of it. So the gentleman over here, wait, that's Georgia. Gentleman over there. I don't even know if it's going to come out that way. Our friend in the Great White North, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
It'll come out that way.
And there's no white in the Great White North today. Let me tell you, it's a hot one. It's hot all across North America.
Yeah,
what counts as hot over there? You know, let me be jealous. What counts as hot over there, Mark? I need to know.
It would be. It's 35 degrees Celsius.
Ooh.
Which is.
So what's that in American?
So that would be double that 32. So it's like 90 some degrees, 95 degrees, something like that.
Oh man, you got the
right. Ouch. It's 90.
And you get humidity too, right, Mark?
And humidity's on top of it. Yes.
And Canadians.
Well, there's less of us, so we're not crowded together.
All I'm saying is hot, sweaty Canadians.
Spread out apart.
Oh, okay. Well, it's 95 here in lovely San Diego, which means my friend Georgia McKenzie. It's probably even hotter.
106 degrees up here.
Oh, Jesus.
Beautiful Northern California. Up here in the north of California, which is more like the middle of California. And yeah, it was 106 today, and it's going to be 4 straight days of over 100 degree temperature. So, yay. Hope everybody's staying cool, feeling pretty good. We got a pretty good show for you today. So, I'm throwing that back to Russell.
We're just actually, you know what? The whole show is going to be watching us sweat. Just close up of just beads of sweat coming down our faces, and we'll be smiling.
I don't sweat. I glow.
You glow. Of course you do, Georgia. Well,
I sweat.
Speaking of someone else who doesn't sweat, he glows. Our friend in the Mid-Atlantic region, Mr. Kacey Green.
Hey, everybody. The temperatures in the house here came down when the thunderstorms started and got the coils wet. So that was
a
nice reprieve.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. And last and not least, the one person where it may not be 100 million, 11 billion degrees, our friend in Boulder, Colorado, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Yeah, it's warm. It got over 90 today, but it's down to 88, so it's not too bad. At least it's a dry heat here, you know. So.
Yeah, it was actually humid here this morning. And by humid, I mean 60% humidity, which I know. I lived in Florida. 60% is nothing. I get it. Here, that is hateful. Like, that's murder season weather. So, anyway, as I said, we have lots of good news. Let's get going with that. And we're going to start with what I think is easily one of the best news summary titles that I've seen in months from my friend Georgia McKenzie. And it's all about the Senate infrastructure bill. Georgia, enlighten us.
What's in freaking side me?
There we
and if
go.
You know where that movie's from, you and I can hang out. So this is stuff in the new Senate infrastructure bill that you should know about because it reflects a lot on what we're interested in here in sustainability. So the Senate passed their big old fat $1.2 trillion infrastructure package just a few days ago. What was that? Tuesday. Wow, it felt like a year. Russell, you know why. And there is now a massive amount of things that can roll forward if we can get our act together in the House and pass the House's version. So all the money, always remember, Senate makes the laws, but the House is the purse. That's why you got to have them both together. Once the House passes, things move forward pretty quickly from there. So there's some nice things for those of you out there in rural country. Broadband. $65 billion investment in broadband, which is really critical because let's face it, we're never leaving our houses. We're always going to be in a pandemic. Sorry, the hopelessness took over. And the next cool thing, electric school buses, because it is time to get rid of those bouncy, no seatbelt. Although, granted, those are very exciting rides when you're on a school trip to be there with no seatbelt. Let's go for some electric school buses. That would be really cool. American-made, zero-emission buses. So those are two things I like. Keep those jobs here, keep that manufacturing here, and less emissions, because it would be nice to slow down that slide into making this place into Arrakis. Now, that's $5 billion.
Wait. Do we get sandworms?
No, we get
okay. Then no, we got to stop.
Tapeworms. Tapeworms, no sandworms. That's it. And then $7.5 billion for a nationwide network of plug-in electric vehicle chargers. Tongue's not working. $7.5 billion for a nationwide network of plug-in electric vehicle chargers along highways to enable long-distance travel. So, Kacey, you could do all that. What is that? Supercharging, whatever the hell it is.
Supercharger reviews.
Yeah, you'd have a whole new network to review. So
that'd be fun.
That would be. Well, I'm going to skip over the new tax regulations on cryptocurrencies, but did you really think you're going to get away with cryptocurrencies with no taxes for a long time?
There's that, but what's it doing in there?
That is part of the infrastructure, baby.
There's probably all sorts. I mean, there always is, but in a good way. In this one, yeah, there's, let's get as much stuff in there as we can.
Now, so there's also $16 billion for major projects that would involve the nation's highways and major roads to improving those 20% that are in poor condition, along with 45,000 bridges that need repair. There's money for transit and rail, $39 billion to modernize public transit. Less than the $49 billion contained in the earlier deal, and way less than the $85 billion that Biden initially wanted to invest, but still critical. It would be great for modernizing transit. It would bring transit service to new communities, which is excellent considering the fact that every time poor communities find a place in the city and build neighborhoods, gentrifiers stream in, take over our cheaper places, and then we're all forced to move further and further out while having to commute longer and longer amounts to work those service jobs that you guys have decided are essential. So I appreciate having more modernized public transit, not to mention replacing thousands of vehicles with zero emission models. So there's also $65 billion to rebuild the electric grid, which those of you who've been watching this program for a while know. Our electrical grid, while it's not necessarily dental floss, some duct tape, and hope, it's still not too far away from that, based on all the needs we have. I mean, look at what happened with Texas earlier this year. So $65 billion to upgrade the electric grid, good idea. $55 billion to upgrade our water infrastructure, which would be replacing the lead service lines and pipes so communities have clean drinking water. Hey, Flint, we're finally going to do a little bit more. And for those of you who think Flint is the only community, I got news for you. Lots of community, including New York City, has a problem with lead pipes that need to be replaced, but not enough money to do it. Not to mention a new threat, cyber attacks. As we do that Internet of Things and we try to connect all of our stuff together, somebody forgot to put in a locked door. What can I say? What? We had to think about cyber attacks when we put in, connections to everything important and critical in our infrastructure? Well, there's $50 billion to go towards protecting it against things for both natural disasters and cyber attacks. So that's pretty good. And my favorite, $21 billion to clean up Superfund sites and reclaim abandoned mine lands and cap orphaned gas wells. What I would love to see, though, is some money put into developing a process. We've learned how to dig under the ocean, but if we do an oopsie and we can't figure out how to stop it, oh my God, went all the way down, and we had a little error, and now it's leaking everywhere because we only learned how to go down. We didn't learn how to turn it off and cap it, move on. So I would love to see that, but hey, this is a pretty good start. And I think as far as infrastructure goes, whatever works to progress society a little bit forward. I don't care if you don't think it's infrastructure. We're going to call it infrastructure and we're going to pay for it. And that's the kind of attitude I like. So what do you guys think?
All good stuff.
Very quiet, man. Mark doesn't care because he's in Canada.
I don't care. I'm not getting
You guys just don't start a fire that
had mostly sane government and just showing off up there in Canada with his
I guess
social health care and shit.
Casey or Mark, do you have any idea what Tesla spent on their Supercharger network in the U.S.?
Billions.
But is it like compared to how much money is being allocated?
There's never been any public amount shown.
Right.
So
yeah, I've seen permits running from 200,000 to 500,000 per site. Not just for the paperwork, obviously, but to do the install.
25.
And how many sites?
2,500 sites.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not cheap.
No. So if you do the minimum, 2,500 times 200K.
Thank you.
500 million at a minimum.
Right.
Well, I want to hit this point at, normally I believe you should just know what's in it, but people are always like, well, how are we supposed to pay for all this stuff? And the truth of the matter is, while Kacey and Paul talking about that Tesla's investment in their supercharging sites, while it's great that they can provide that as a business and make it available to customers, I have huge problems with letting any private entity control something that could be a very critical infrastructure piece. So we've got to stop thinking of it as luxuries that our taxes are paying for when it comes to this kind of stuff, and start thinking of it as an investment in the health and security of our nation. So how are they going to pay for it? $53 billion from 24 states opting to terminate pandemic jobless benefits early. $67 billion in unused savings from the COVID-19 employer retention tax. $106 billion in unused savings from the COVID-19 paid family leave tax credits that were projected to be used but weren't. $51 billion from delaying implementation of the rebate rule for Medicare Part D prescription drugs. $21 billion from repurposing unused funding from the 2020 coronavirus relief bills for small businesses, airline workers, and school. $10.2 billion from sales of future Federal Communications Commission spectrum auctions. $67 billion from the proceeds of the agency's February auction for mid-band spectrum for wireless services. $53 billion in economic growth resulting from a 33% return on investment in the long-term projects. $28 billion from changing the tax reporting requirements for cryptocurrencies. So that's why that tax on cryptocurrencies is in there, because that is a key infrastructure portion of the payment for everything we're doing. $21 billion from extending fees for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans on mortgage-backed securities. $14.5 billion for reinstating some Superfund fees on chemicals to fund the cleanup of contaminated waste sites, because I guess a lot of people don't know that when companies move off after abandoning an area and leave it a toxic mess, we, the taxpayers, have often been picking up the tab on those Superfund cleanups. Well, they owe us, and it's time to actually collect those fees, so we're going to be doing that. It's about $27 billion that will be coming in from other methods of payment, but yes, we're not doing it all on the credit card. So it would be great if people understood that all of this stuff. When you see a tax increase or a tax on something in the infrastructure bill, 9 times out of 10, it is part of the payment factor for that. But we'll see what gets through the House.
It's going to need a little bit of a public-private hybrid, because when you look at gasoline and hydrogen, those aren't provided by the government. They're privately funded.
Yes, but like I said, for me, it's making it. There's a difference for me between a public-private partnership where a certain level of regulation and control is balanced versus, hi, I'm Elon, I've created this massive supercharging network, and the only way you get access to it is if you buy my cars or you pay my company a fee. And then I have my say on everything else. As electric cars need this kind of stuff, at some point the government kind of has to step in to create an egalitarian method of providing supercharging access to everyone who has an electric car, regardless, which will help in standardizing things like plugs.
Yeah,
so
they'll definitely need some sort of standardization. You wouldn't want to do a single source monopoly, because as we've seen with his own customers, they will cut you off for any number of reasons. But we've also seen that with some of the smaller competing networks, where all of a sudden you can't bring a home-built EV to their network, which is not what we need right now, because just because you built it at home doesn't mean it's unsafe. There should be a certification program, and as long as that thing is not wrecked, let it on there. And if it is wrecked and it's been recertified that it's safe to go again, they should be able to get back on Tesla and back on everybody else, because as you said, the government's not providing right now. Yeah.
And that's why having the government's hand in creating that supercharging network and ensuring access is critical, because honestly, it's just like the whole issue with mask debates.
Yeah.
Yeah, the government some people can argue that the government shouldn't mandate a mask, but you know who can? Private businesses. And if your ass tries to go into a store or something and they say, no, you need to put something over that mug because your filthy COVID breath is getting on everyone, they can have your butt hauled right the hell out, because it is a private business. And it is the same thing with all the small independent dealers and the Tesla dealers. It is their right to establish a network coast to coast and then say, here's our criteria. And if you don't like it, get out, go find a Duracell, plug it. There you go. So
they need like the equivalent of a public utilities commission to regulate it and say, okay, if you do this, these are the rules, and you can't just jack up the rates without justifying why you're doing it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, a hurricane's coming, and they're charging 10 times their price.
Right, yeah.
Right. No, there's no surge pricing on this. We want to make sure that's controlled. But we'll have to see, though, if we
didn't plan our network infrastructure, so we're going to charge you 100 times the rate because the hurricane's coming. Yeah. Like
an ice storm has brought it down, and now we're going to charge you for our poor. Oh, hey Texas, how you doing, by the way, you guys? Yeah, that does happen.
Thank you so much, Georgia, for taking what is going to be a bill that's probably going to be that thick and summarizing it in less than 7 days. It is a enormous task. And there's a lot of...
1 second. Zachary can build that.
Does anyone believe
having worked for local government, Zachary, I can tell you that, they actually can.
Yeah. Thanks, Zach. I got nothing.
All right.
So let's go on to the next topic, because it is an also very interesting one. And Georgia, undoubtedly, we will be following up on bits of this as the bill progresses, as it gets to the House, as we see more and more of what the end thing is going to be. It's certainly... we'll definitely be revisiting this. I think one of the most interesting things is that Supercharger Network. If Tesla opens it up to get the subsidies, that's a good thing. And it's a good thing for EV owners, good for Tesla. I mean, it's a win-win.
There's a rumor right now that they have restored Supercharger access to wrecked Model 3s that have been restored to condition. So we'll see what that
Quick call, Rich.
but it's not just blanket open, you have to get it recertified by Tesla, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
And
not
Rich is
official
like,
yet.
recertified by Tesla.
Yeah.
We'll see. As this thing comes under government regulation, which in my world is not always a bad thing,
Right.
it will be interesting to see if maybe some more balance and a little less capitalism doesn't make this network something that works for everybody in the country, and that would be a good thing. Now, Tesla owners, there's going to be some natural pushback there, maybe deserved, maybe not. We'll have to see what the impact is.
But sometimes, government regulation is a good thing. Like
very good.
Take airline travel; it's federally regulated, and the government said if you want to get on a plane, you're wearing a mask. And if people get on a plane without a mask, the airline can throw their ass off, and they can't get in trouble for it. So,
absolutely. So Kacey has a story.
I sure do.
And all I'm going to say is, Kacey, go ahead and get this started. This is going to be an interesting one.
So you might remember a couple of weeks ago, our friends at Consumer Reports, they did something that had us all questioning their journalistic integrity, as well as their ability to contend with their own goal of what they called safety, when they went ahead and then showed everybody how to defeat the safety of the safety features of the autopilot system, so you could run it with an empty chair. And well, our friends at Car and Driver are actually better journalists than them, and they did the whole process. They brought 17 vehicles to their test track, and they went ahead and they tried to see how many of them would let them operate the vehicle with nobody in the driver's seat, and to see how they behaved and when they gave up, etc. And well, let's just say that every one of the 17 vehicles failed. So it's not just Tesla. And some of the techniques they used were interesting. They did the usual weight on the steering wheel. They did. My favorite was for a couple of the systems, they were able to use googly eyes. And that did the trick. And I've got a photo that I'm sharing here where you can see that they actually were tending to their safety on this one, unlike the last guys, where everything was done on a private track except for GM Super Cruise, because that only works on public roads. You can see that they hooked up a hockey stick with a end piece that they could use to disengage the system from the passenger seat. And when it came time to do the GM Super Cruise, they actually contacted the local police department and had a section of the road shut down for a couple hours for them to run their tests, rather than just YOLOing it.
This is bullshit.
Can you show them the picture, Russell?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a picture?
There's a picture. It says
down at the bottom. There we go. Look at that. Yes, those hardworking little buggers at Car and Driver did find a way with zip ties and hockey sticks and custom-made brackets and special mounts to get these systems to work.
Every car let him out the seat. I like the conclusion where he's like, "Hey, my ride-on lawnmower knows when I've left the seat," and it turns off.
I have to disagree with my friend Kacey to the extent that Consumer Reports has no journalistic integrity and Car and Driver has a great deal. It's okay to write about one company's faults while not mentioning every other fault in the universe in that genre.
If done with journalistic integrity, yes, but they didn't even attempt to on the other side.
But again, my point isn't that they don't have to attempt. If they're doing a story about one company's potential malfeasance,
But then they went ahead to say that Super Cruise is so much better, and then as Car and Driver showed, it's not. And then they also their whole argument with the article was that it was for safety. Hey, it's so safe, let's show you how to do this yourself.
The difference is, with the Tesla, you don't need a lot of tools, do you? The company actively demonstrates and encourages consumers to defeat the system. There is an entire ecosphere of third-party companies that sell devices on various, whether it's on Teslarati or eBay or whoever, to defeat Tesla's ADAS or Tesla's lack of driver monitoring, which they have none.
And every one of them has had a legal injunction brought to them to the point where they're now trying to pretend that they're phone holders, etc.
I understand, but there's this whole ecosystem of stuff.
But all that same stuff worked on everybody else's car.
On some cars, in some ways.
17 cars, yeah.
I think the interesting thing missing here is the Lexus LS with their driver their most full-featured ADAS system, which absolutely would not be fooled by any of this stuff.
Maybe they did a couple of.
There's no maybe. I mean, I've been in it. I drove it. Did a
Right in
review.
car and driver tested.
They beat Ford. They beat Super Cruise. They even beat the Europeans who actually have a capacitive touch wheel, so that you can't do the steering wheel weight. What is Lexus doing that's so different than the rest of the industry that would make them work?
Well, the Toyota Teammate, the Lexus Teammate system. Let's just say it's another generation ahead as far as monitoring. For instance, your eye gaze. It's not going to be fooled by googly eyes.
Well, Super Cruise claims to monitor your eye gaze.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just.
That's Mercedes.
I haven't driven the Mercedes. I haven't driven the Super Cruise. I have driven the Lexus. So I can only.
So Russell, we're going to get you a set of googly eyes, and next time you've got the Lexus out, you're going to have to test that out.
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the problem that I have with this story. I get that Tesla fans don't enjoy seeing Tesla taken to task individually for something that other manufacturers may also play some part in. But let's make no mistake. It is my opinion that Tesla is by far the worst and most egregious offender when it comes to look at our self-driving. Look at our full self-driving, which you can now buy via subscription.
But the one they show is not the one you can buy. The one they show that does allow you to take your hands off the wheel for extended periods of time, those are the test cars. And they say, this is a test car. Don't try this at home.
Oh, right, right. Just like Tesla says, don't do this. But then Elon gets in the car and goes on national network TV and says...
And he does this for a second. I mean, all these other cars,
for a
every
second?
other demonstration of all these other cars, they do this for a second, and then they grab it again.
Come on, dude. It's on video.
Well, I'm just kind of shocked that they go through... I mean, they literally show so much in the way of how to defeat these systems. It feels a little irresponsible in the reporting.
I will say Tesla's done a good job of indirectly marketing to the average consumer that they're the king of self-driving cars. If you went on to the average person on the street and said, hey, what car do you think has closest to self-driving? Everybody's going to say Tesla, even though GM and Lexus have stuff that's getting close. And that's why the journalists are picking on Tesla. Because they're out there saying, we're autopilot, car drives itself, you don't have to pay attention. So, when you're the first and the loudest, you're going to get dragged through the mud.
Let's be clear, Tesla's the one benefiting the most from their publicity. GM isn't, Ford isn't, Audi isn't. Tesla is. Tesla's reputation, which they have worked hard to cultivate, is now also pulling in some blowback. The other reason the Super Cruise and the Lexus Teammate system, I think, weren't as much part of this is that they only operate on certain roads, and the car and driver test track is not one of those roads.
Right, that's why they had to get the local constabulary to lock the road down for them so they could run the Super Cruise for a couple hours. And I imagine that's not cheap because you got to compensate them for that.
Probably not. You know what? Without getting into the pissing match of Tesla versus Waymo or Zoox or GM or Lexus, let's just put this out there, or I'll put this out there, as my friend Ed Niedermeyer has said on the Autonocast, and Alex Roy has said, and Kirsten Korosek. What's needed is better driver monitoring systems.
And that's also what Car and Driver said as well. Yeah.
Much more aggressive and active driver monitoring systems if we're going to put a 4,000 or 5,000 pound vehicle on autopilot and let it run.
But then another point that Mark and I brought up on the other show is that since folks are going to just get around whatever you put out there in front of them, how about we then make it to the point where this thing is good enough that it doesn't matter if it's even got a person in the car at all. I mean, obviously we're not there yet, but that would be the ultimate solution to building a bigger idiot. It's like the guy said at the closing of his video. He said, "Hey, you know, my ride-on lawnmower knows I've left the seat, but 17 of these $50,000+ automobiles don't know."
Which is
or they do know, but don't care.
My
Yeah, they do
40-year-old
know.
forklift
Yeah.
knows if you get
Right,
out of the
right.
seat.
Right. The problem is that's disingenuous, Kacey, because he would have, if he put a 60-pound sandbag in his riding lawnmower to defeat it would just run right into the lake.
Yeah.
Which is what they did with these motor vehicles, was they
Exactly.
found ways to defeat the system, and they defeated the system. They said, see, it's defeatable.
Yeah.
I think the real question is,
I'd have to say that anything is defeatable.
yes. Well-
You can't beat stupid. Someone is going to beat these automated systems to track people. They'll beat them. They just will, because that's what we as
Our
humans
nature.
do.
You can't tell me what to do.
That's right. It becomes a grudge match. I will beat this system regardless. Like, that is what some
I
people
will put
will
a
do.
bag of
no
rice
matter
with
what.
googly eyes on this driver's seat and
Yep.
sit in the bag.
Yep, sitting on a
A hot potato inside, so it's got heat.
As many people have heard me say, there is no amount of technology that cannot be defeated by stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid works hard. It works 24/7, 365 days a year. And yes, JT, it is an infinite resource. Stupid does not quit.
That might be a show title too, JT. Thank you.
I like it.
It's too accurate. No, I don't want to harness it. I want to abolish it, because I think we already have too much stupid.
A perpetual motion machine. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, chipmunk wheel of stupid. That's what we're stuck on.
Anyone else have any final thoughts on driver or on ADAS systems that the car and driver folks can defeat?
I do like the fact that other companies are calling it Super Cruise or Teammate and not Autopilot. You know, that doesn't give the consumer the impression that, hey, they can sit in the back seat and drink a beer and the car will drive itself.
Yeah, but
Or
you
hit
do
the
all
ball.
those steps to get in the back seat. At that point, something should click and say, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this if it's so hard to do.
Right. I want to thank Hockey Day for his generous donation. And this is where I might normally make a joke about Canadian dollars, but I'm not going to make that joke, because right on, Hockey Day. Thank you. Thank you. Canadian dollars count 4 times their actual value. So I appreciate it. And yes, thanks for any donations anybody cares to make during the show. That's super cool. So thank you so much. Speaking of Tesla, let's go to Mark Coughlin for This Week in Tesla and find out the good news about Tesla.
Well, we're going to start with not such good news. Model S and Model X price increased again by $5,000. This is the second $5,000 increase in a couple weeks. So again, through the previous weeks, we've seen ups on the price of the Model 3 and the Model Y. 500 here, 500 there, 1,000 here. It seems to be the norm now. Across the Tesla lineup, we've got a number of prices that are jumping. My question to the panel is, are you hearing about other auto manufacturers that they're increasing their list prices as well?
Base Model X is
I'd
now
say
almost
a lot of
$100,000.
the companies are not discounting their selling prices. A lot of
So
cars
maybe-
you're buying now are full MSRP or above MSRP.
What's the... Let me
question-
answer this in a Socratic manner, if I may, Mr. Coughlin.
Yeah.
What's the main difference between Tesla and most of the other car companies?
No
Electric?
middlemen.
That's an easy, thank you. That's an easy question, right? Everybody buys Tesla from Tesla. Everybody buys Ford from your local franchise Ford dealer, or GM from your local franchise GM dealer, which means that, of course, car companies can raise MSRP. But where this mostly occurs is through the dealer network, because the dealers can legally do it. And they have no problem hosing over their customers, as everyone who's over 5 years of age in America knows. So,
And conversely, if they have crappy cars, they can discount them to get rid of them.
and they often have the employee discount sale.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
GM's normal. So
$500 trunk money.
I mean, this is sort of like this is an Elon invention in a way. This sort of changing the pricing, changing the feature pricing, right?
It's always been
Right.
quick changes at Tesla. There's no waiting until the end of
Up
a year
and
or a
down.
model year to add things, to subtract things.
Mhm.
Price increases happen immediately whenever the need arises. So, I'm just saying it for someone, if you're sitting on the outside, and we're talking here in this particular instance about Model S and Model X. These are not cheap cars, anyways.
No.
$5,000 maybe to a purchaser is not a big deal. $10,000 may not be a big deal either. But it's the cheaper cars when it gets to the 3 and the X. Or I'm sorry, the 3 of the Y, as it's upping the price incrementally. It leaves a bad taste for people that are trying to get to the point where they can purchase it. Maybe these rapid changes. It's not a great thing to have. It may be required. It may be because of the parts supply situation. As Paul has mentioned, if you don't need to purchase a car now, you shouldn't. You should wait a little while, because pricing is nuts across the industry. So it looks like Tesla is pushing these prices out to their customers as well.
Yeah, and then like Mark and Patrick and I always say, if you see something you like with Tesla and you want it, as configured, as priced, get it now, because they may give you a warning that the price is going to go up. They may give you a warning the price is going down. But in cases like this, it just went up overnight.
Yeah.
I had a go ahead.
No,
I had a friend.
Go ahead, Kacey. I'm sorry.
I had a friend who wanted to get a Model Y, but they figured that the price would come down because there were all these rumors of increased capacity, etc., blah, blah, blah. And so they waited one day too long, and they had a $1,500 price. What was it, $500? Either way, $1,500 or $500. The price went up overnight, so that changes your affordability of, like, all right, now you can't get an option or something.
Yep,
So
you got
now-
to keep your eye on the ball for sure. But just to let people know that that's the way the Tesla operates. I don't especially like it, but that is what's going on. Another story of interest that happened this week, of course, was that the White House decided to have an EV event, and they decided to invite the participants in EVs who they believed is GM, Ford, and Stellantis.
Yep.
Those 3 brands were there, but yet Tesla, who sells 54% of all EVs in the United States, weren't even invited. Now, we know the reason why. The Biden administration is pro-UAW. They're pro-union jobs. And, of course, Tesla is not a union shop. So they were overlooked. And that's kind of disappointing, too, because we all know the contribution that Tesla has made to the auto industry overall in pushing them into going into EVs. Without Tesla's leadership and early jump onto this particular electrification, a lot of this, where we are now, would not even exist. So it's kind of disappointing.
And to Tesla's credit, the cars they sell in America are American made. They're not even made in Mexico or Canada.
Exactly.
Which the big 3, very few of their cars are American made.
And on top of it, I believe the Model 3 is the most American car made anywhere.
That's right.
Probably. Yeah.
We got a word for it.
Kind of disappointing, but that too happened this week. Last story we're going to touch upon is one just for Russell. Austin and San
Bring it.
Antonio have received unsolicited bids for new tunnels from the Boring Company.
Jesus Christ. You know what? I hope they all do.
Is it
They
going to go from
deserve
Austin
them.
to Vegas? Or?
No,
Oh, that'd be fun.
The Austin run apparently is from downtown to the airport to the new Tesla campus.
That's perfect. Absolutely.
And San Antonio, it's, I believe, from the downtown to the airport. So we've got, everybody seems to have an airport run except for Florida, who is downtown to the beach. So
it's more important.
that's
Can you
probably
actually
more
make a
important for
tunnel
them.
in Florida? Like, won't it be flooded all the time?
Oh, they already have a tunnel in Fort Lauderdale, Paul. It's been there for 100 years. It stays dry. So
Yep, and then the one in Miami's got pumps.
Yeah. And it'll be getting more pumps as time
Yes, they'll
goes
need
forward.
them.
Yeah.
So with that, if you would like to see more Tesla news, please tune in to the Tesla Life on our YouTube channel, where weekly we talk nothing but Tesla. So with that, back to you, Russell.
And no negative Russell. If you want to do
Usually.
your Tesla drinking, you've got to do it during what drives us, damn it. That's what this show is for. Derek, thank you,
Is that
my
what it's
brother.
for?
That
Oh my
is
goodness!
beautiful.
Wow, that is so
That is
generous.
beautiful. Was it something I said? Derek's drinking now. Thank you. Okay, Derek,
Around on Derek?
please be careful, Derek. That's all. Just don't drive anywhere. Okay, that's all we ask. No drinking and driving. Drink all you want at home, my friend.
Don't drink all you want at home, please.
Yeah,
What drives
Tunnels.
us does not recommend
Drink
drinking
responsibly at
excess,
home.
even at
There
home.
you go. Drink responsibly.
exactly. Thank you. I got nothing. Thanks, Mark. Do follow Mark on Twitter at the Tesla Life. I am not drinking using all of my.
Oh, did you see the one in Sweden with that?
Now I have to kill myself, Derek. Okay, thank you.
The
No.
guy was drunk and the car just stopped in the lane because he stopped responding to input, and it turned on the flashers.
Yep, save someone else's life and the driver.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I don't
for
know
that.
who's afraid of the robot overlords when we have people. I mean, seriously.
Right, that part.
Oh my God. Robot overlords. Let me give you a shot.
Allegedly, we're going to be taken over by aliens today. I read it on the internet, so I know it's true. It was right next to how bad the COVID vaccine is, and it makes spoons stick to your skin. And then it said a guy from 2714 came back in time to warn us that the alien invasion starts today. So I know it's true.
YouTube bot, that is sarcasm, just because I know you can't tell.
Well, this is my
sarcasm.
last show. I won't be back.
Oh, Georgia. I can't blame you. I can't.
Jesus.
Well, I have to give it to the aliens.
I'm speaking to AI.
Keeping it as low key if this is the start.
There's gonna be a flag on this episode.
Probably, maybe. I don't know. Alien invasions. We said the C word, and it wasn't that C word, people. It was in COVID. Anyway, let's go to Georgia, who has
Conspiracy.
an interesting take on one of our favorite things on what drives us, a concept car.
We love concept cars.
Well,
Oh,
I'm not really.
fucking love
I'm not
them.
really the techno. Shut up, you guys. I'm not really the technological wonders that are Paul and Mark and Kacey and Russell. I'm really only attracted to looks in a car. That's not necessarily true, but it's got to kind of have some cool looks. And you know what? I'm not a fan of Audi, but their new concept car, the Skysphere, I mean, it looks like Batman. And if you can pretend to be Batman, I say pretend to be Batman. I'm going to see if I can share my screen.
Uh-oh. I need to do something, don't I?
You do. You need to click
I don't
share
see
on
it.
the second Georgia.
I think
Go
so.
ahead,
Can I
Georgia.
do
You
this?
can do it. Go, Georgia, go.
Oh, shush.
But these are all CGI pictures, right? There's no real car yet.
Who knows?
Well, prototypes
Right now.
are easy. Production is hard.
Yeah, this is, I don't know.
Photo-
Oh, I saw this
Look
one.
at that
Yes.
front face. Look at that face.
Did you click
I
the
think it's pretty
Is
cool.
it there? There we go. Show on stream. There it is. Okay. Can I just interrupt with something totally inappropriate?
What?
On my way to work 2 days ago, I'm on Highway 78 in North San Diego County. I swear to God, this is true. Literally 1 lane over from me is a Tim Burton Batmobile.
Oh, wow.
Okay, the full-on
So lucky.
fins and the whole thing. He's in the slow lane doing about 50 in the Batmobile, and I pass him on my 150cc scooter. That's all I got, man. That's all I got. Only in San Diego does weird crap like that happen. Do I get to pass the Batmobile on a scooter on the freeway?
Either
So,
way,
Is this a production intent or a styling exercise, or what was the deal? When I watched the video, it was...
This is their new concept vehicle.
It looks like they
this is
flattened
the
it.
first of a new family. Well, okay. Tell me this does not look like somebody took the kit from Knight Rider and kind of squished it.
Yeah?
Yeah, like an Audi TT maybe.
Yeah. Combo between that one, a little bit of the GT,
Yeah,
coming in the front. I mean,
yeah, it's got the
I
e-tron.
I
feel
mean,
from it.
it's not even a concept car though. It's a concept Photoshop. I mean,
Well, it's,
Concept
at least it's
shop.
got animations, because the steering wheel will fold away and the dashboard
no.
shows up.
hey. At least it's not a truck that you just have somebody pushing it to make it run. All right?
Rolling it down the mountain?
Rolling
Yeah,
down
I
the hill.
agree.
Rolling downhill.
yeah,
Yes,
but that's
what-
still harder to have a real physical thing than just a bunch of pixels.
We'll see what it looks like when it actually comes out.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what it comes out. I mean, this is going to be a pretty nice roadster. 60 miles per hour in 4 seconds, 553 pound-feet of torque. And they said that this is designed to range from changing from cars to experience devices. I hate it already. That is
Right?
such advertising speak. The Skysphere is the first of a new family of concept vehicles focusing on Audi's changing from cars to experience devices. The second vehicle, called the Grand Sphere, is scheduled to be unveiled September 1st, followed by the Urban Sphere in the first half of 2022. The term sphere is meant to symbolize the interior space of the vehicles for drivers and passengers. The dashboard is kind of interesting and unique. It looks like they're using an LED control, which is nice and high-tech. But we'll see what happens with that one. But I just thought, hey, it's something interesting to look forward to. Let's see what they actually put on the market, though.
Let's see.
Hey, Russell, can you let me share the screen? You have a Batman story. I've got
Absolutely.
one too.
There we go.
Oh.
Oh, whoa, whoa.
Ah!
You just
Mark
blew
with
my
the-
mind,
Mark-
dude.
Mark with the funhouse mirrors. Oh, wow.
That was. Is he flipping off the camera?
It looks
like
Batman
it.
wouldn't do that. Batman
Wow, Adam West Batman would never.
No. Thank you, Mark. That was it was just one of those weirdly surreal moments, I mean, it happens. I blew the doors. I didn't really, you know what? Let's be clear. My max on that scooter is 60 miles an hour. This Batmobile was doing 50. I did pass him easily, but I didn't blow anybody's doors off. Clearly, if he gets that thing over 50, all the fiberglass rattles and flies off or something, So I'm shocked he'd take that on the freeway. You know what I mean?
He's on
That
his way
car's
to the
got to be
children's
worth money.
hospital.
Are you kidding
right?
me? I would drive it on the freeway even if I had nowhere to. Like, I'd get up 113 and I'd just be tooling around in this rural county with a Batmobile with me, like a whole horde of trucks and some tractors. But just because I have them, I'm in the freaking Batmobile. Damn it!
I love seeing it. It was fantastic. It was like going back in time. Well, thank you very much for that, Georgia. We will look forward to never seeing that vehicle in real life because we never will see it in real life. And it will continue to be a fantasy that Audi will foster for free publicity. And
How could you do that to put such doubt about experienced devices?
me, what I think about the Suicide Squad video, Hockey, you know what? We should talk about that. Georgia will tear
That's
me
a great movie.
up. Georgia will tear me up.
It's
You should
fun.
follow
I
us
loved
on
it.
Twitter.
Shut up.
That's all I'm going to say. I have to admit, sticking back from it a little bit, it was, but I don't know. Anyway, okay, Kacey has an important story that actually is good. So let's go to Kacey and talk about why Inside EVs should never be read and anyone should never pay attention to them. Oh, that wasn't your point? I'm sorry, Kacey.
Oh, I mean that's
There I go.
That's a valid takeaway.
There I go, presenting bias where I didn't need to.
So they came up with an article titled "Study: EVs cost 1.6 times more to service than ICEs the first year." And my notes in the show notes for this were let's debunk this garbage. So I'm glad that I'm right here next to Paul. And
Bullshit.
Exactly.
There's no way.
Right. So with my EVs, the most I've had to put into them was washer fluid and maybe wiper blades, and I haven't even been through tires in the first year on any of them either. But on my fossil
it's such
vehicles,
a bullshit study statement because pretty much all cars the first year don't need really anything.
That's what I was going to say next. Is my fossils didn't even have they had oil changes.
How about maintenance cost over 5 years, over 10 years? That makes sense.
That would be something.
But the first year, who cares? It doesn't count.
It's under warranty.
And a lot of companies, most cars, you get the first year or two of service for free anyway. So the cost is zero.
Yeah.
So you buy a Toyota Tercel, you get 2 years of free oil changes.
They don't make the Tercel anymore.
The modern version of the Tercel.
Whatever, but any Toyota you buy, you get 2 years of free oil changes. So your cost of service is zero. And anything that breaks is covered under the warranty. So your cost is zero. So
you might be looking at $100 for the first year.
Not even. So where did they get this study from, and what brands were they?
They pulled it out of
their ass. Is what
they did pull it out of an ass. Let's just leave it at that. It was an ass called We Predict, who has a very interesting advisory board, heavy with the large corporates, and oddly enough, some automotive folks. And I don't know.
Why didn't they talk to people who actually bought EVs and have owned them for 2 years and said, hey, how many times has it been in the shop? How much money has come out of your pocket each time?
Yeah. Or you could even look at the maintenance expenses and what's covered under warranty and what's not. So on the Prius, it's 5,000 miles, change the oil. How many miles does the person in the study drive? 10? Okay, so that's 2 oil changes. What's it say on the Mach-E? Change the air filter once. Okay, so I'll change the air filter. I mean, you gotta be critical of what you're reading and figure out how they came at their numbers, what their bias is, and then apply just basic logical critical thinking to it, and then you can see if it makes sense. And I found people pointing at this thing, and I was like, wait a minute, what? And then in the first paragraph, you can tell that it's garbage. Aside from
pure garbage.
In the first sentence, it's pure shit because it's the first sentence underneath the author's name. It says, in the first 3 months of ownership, We Predict data analysis company found EVs to cost 2.3 times more to service than ICE vehicles. In the first 3 months, do you have a more bizarre window to analyze?
I've never had any car that I had to pay in the first 3 months. Combustion or whatever, if it was new.
Wasn't this the one that had a cracked windshield and they said that was part of the maintenance?
That's called a bad day. That's not maintenance.
Like that doesn't matter if it's EV or regular. It just you get a cracked windshield.
No car company covers your windshield or
And you know that's a good point for having proper insurance coverage.
Now, there is one little tiny tidbit of semi-valid data, and I hate to do anything to make this bullshit study, which is just clearly like opposition research. But when they say that EVs take longer to fix than ICEs, they're probably right. Yeah. They're probably right.
But after the first 3 months?
The shops, the dealerships don't have as many techs trained on them yet. The parts are not as readily available. And because dealerships stock fast-moving parts.
Yes.
Like, I often will call the dealer if I see a problem on a car, and I'll say, hey, I need this part. Is that a special order part, or do you have it on the shelf? And if they have it on the shelf, I know that's a common fault for that brand, make and model of car, because they have the part on the shelf. If they say, oh no, we got to special order that part, it's going to take, and I say, well, that probably rarely fails. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place to fix this car.
There you go. I like that. That's smart thinking.
Yeah. No, and it's true in almost every case.
Yeah.
You know, but because EVs don't really break and they're so new, they're not going to have a lot of parts on the shelf yet.
Yeah.
5 years in, when they're seeing that part X on Model Y is breaking all the time, then they'll have that part on the shelf.
Yep. Every single
And
repair
that's
I've
the
had
same
on my
for every
EVs.
make and model. Yeah.
Yeah. Every single repair I've had on my EVs that was under warranty, unless it was part of like a recall campaign, like you said, it's something that rarely breaks. I had to wait weeks for the part to come in, and so they're like, "Hey, just keep driving your car. It's not a safety issue. We'll see you when it comes in." And like other things,
If they
like
had 10,000 cars with that failure, they would have the part in the supply chain to deal with it, just like Toyota would or GM.
Yeah, like when my Volt, my first Volt, the power cable was a safety issue, so they had actually pre-staged them at the dealerships. Like, hey, you got a pallet of cords coming in, and then these are the 3 people in your dealership that actually need one.
or on the Gen 1 Volt, there's a coolant sensor that failed.
Oh, that one was fun. It took 2 weeks for my car.
local dealer has them on the shelf. Anytime I need one, I call them. I get it within 2 hours because they've sold so many of that part.
Nice.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Well, anyway, that's a bullshit study. Ignore it. Delete it.
Those of us that I'm sorry. Well, those of us old folks who remember way back to the early 2000s when alt cars and whatnot started to increase, there was tons of these studies, and they were always from like a seemingly third-party, unbiased thing, and no one really knew, like, well, who was your client that paid for the study? Because you're a commercial company that does these data analysis for cash. So who paid for this? Oh, we don't disclose that.
Well, we remember the
Hummer cleaner than a Prius?
The Prius has a larger carbon footprint than the Hummer.
Absolutely. There were tons
Until
of
you turn it
things.
on the first time.
Yeah, there's still that stuff, that war is constantly being waged. So, yeah, you just have to kind of maybe ask.
Don't believe
somebody.
everything you read.
That's right.
There you go. Unless it's on the internet, then it's always true.
Especially on Facebook.
Especially.
Oh God, you guys.
No, wait, Instagram. Instagram is the best.
No, shush.
It's the same thing as Facebook. It's just
What
different.
Drives does not recommend getting any
Especially
information
medical
off
advice on Facebook.
Facebook, Instagram.
No, don't.
I got one for each of them.
Ignore all of these people.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of ignoring, let's do some shout outs and go home because we've done our work today. I'm going to start with Paul Guzik.
Hey, as everybody knows, we're in Colorado. We fix hybrid cars, we fix EVs, we sell hybrids and EVs and sometimes regular cars. Check us out at boulderhc.com or come and say hi if you're in the neighborhood.
Do it, because Paul's a great guy. I bought my car from him, and if you're lucky, you might buy your car from him.
But don't buy a car yet. Wait a few months.
Don't buy a car anywhere. It's just awful. Bad timing. Kacey Green, what's going on in your world, my friend?
So I've got a couple of videos at youtube.com/Kacey Green that I'm working on. One is the deep dive of this current software update. My game is finally finished downloading after a week. But they called out 2 items, and as usual, it's not just what they say on the tin. I found some stuff for you guys to look at, as well as I've got a look at what it's like to live on level 1 charging with a large battery EV.
What is it like to live on level 1 charging?
You can leave your house once a week.
I actually like that idea, Kacey. That's actually really. I'm going to have to go watch that video.
Yeah, it's not done yet, but when it is, I think you'll enjoy it.
Absolutely. And where do we see it?
youtube.com/Kacey Green.
And how do we spell that?
It's KACEYGREEN.
You can see it on the screen, but just in case you're listening.
Just in case you're on the podcast, yeah.
Exactly. Do KACEYGREEN.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kacey Green. Georgia McKenzie, I'm going to you next.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you guys for hanging with us, especially since we seem to be a little punch drunk this show, but I hope you had a good time. And if you sat through all of our news and silliness, don't forget to go on down there, hit that like button, And subscribe if you haven't done that already. What are you waiting for? And while you're at it, you already know, go check out Kacey's channel and slide on over to Mark's channel. It's Tesla Life. You want all this good content. So my shout out is to all the firefighters because so many parts of California are on fire, and also Seattle, and one of my friends from Cherokee Nation is talking about Montana being on fire. Shout out to the firefighters, shout out to the people who actually are doing the essential work of keeping the infrastructure running. Fingers crossed we get that investment going, so maybe we're a lot less vulnerable next year. And I'm going to throw that back over to Russell.
Thank you to the inmates who we don't care about fighting these fires for nothing or very little.
Well, yeah, for low pay and to not be allowed to be firefighters when they're finally released.
Yeah.
Which is a change we should be fixing.
It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, and I want to thank PG&E for not burying the cable and for starting the Dixie Fire and admitting that. Yay! And then announcing they're going to bury the cable soon. Now that everything's ash, no big deal.
So, a lot easier to get the equipment in there now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a piece of cake.
No municipality that they have to negotiate with anymore.
Right now, Mark Coughlin is thinking, Russell's forgotten about me. No, I haven't, Mark. No, I haven't. Let's go to my friend Mark Coughlin and see what's going on with him.
Well, if you want to get the Tesla news of the week, please follow us at the Tesla Life on our Twitter feed, or of course the Tesla Life on the YouTube page. But we thank you for watching with us tonight. And if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up. Press that subscribe button. You've got just a few more minutes to do so, and it helps us out so much. We would really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Back to you, Russell.
Thank you very much for that, Mark. Do, as I said, follow him on at the Tesla Life on Twitter, and do watch the Tesla Life show. It is the second best show on YouTube.
What's the first best?
Okay, we're going to talk about your future on the show right now. Yeah, George is like, bring it. I'm worried about you. I've seen your boxing videos. I'm not going to, trust me, I'm not going to. I want to say thank you to Michael Manring for his amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Buy his music wherever you find it. Michael Manring, thank you. I want to thank Hockey Day and Derek for their generous donations during the show, which you can also make a viewer to our channel. We appreciate that so much. Thanks to Hockey Day and Derek. That was super cool. I appreciate it. It almost makes me feel bad about saying naughty things about Tesla. Almost.
Liar.
I'm not lying. I almost feel bad.
No, you don't.
No, I mean,
almost is like 10 miles away from where you live right now.
Oh, that's so not fair. That's awesome. So, thanks to all of you in the chat. Thanks to my friend Paul, Kacey, Georgia, and Mark for being here on this amazing show. Tune in next week and find out what drives us.
Stay safe, everybody.
Drive safe. We'll see you next week.